So you've been lifting for a few years now and you're just at a plateau. You can't build any more muscle. What the hell is going on? What you used to do in the past is just not working anymore. What happened? Well, welcome to the world of being an advanced trainee. All right. So the truth behind advanced training is just this. I'm going to explain it in this video, but I'm going to start with a little bit of a story first. So when I was competitive powerlifting, I got advice from a powerlifter who was ahead of me, who was competing in the national ranks. And I was asking about program. I'm like, my bench kind of stalled. What do I do? Should I try to follow? I forget what the program was, but for example, let's just say, should I try to follow like something like 5-3-1? And the person's response was it was a really smart response. They said, listen, no set program like that, 5-3-1, the cube method, all those like powerlifting programs that are out there, they're not going to work for you. And I was stunned. I was like taken back. I'm like, what do you mean they're not going to work for you? These programs work for everybody. What are you talking about? And the response was, well, you're not intermediate or beginner anymore. They work for anybody in the beginning. But at the stage that you're at, it's not going to work. And that's when it hit me like a ton of bricks. Advanced training is very different than a beginner or intermediate program. Set in stone programs like 5-3-1 and others are great for beginners and intermediates because it gives them structure and it allows them to develop that base. But once you get over a certain point, it just doesn't work anymore. So this is my opinion. All right, I'm going to start that off by saying this is my opinion on what it actually takes to be advanced. So first and foremost, you need to train consistently for 5 years. Consistently, not like, okay, I trained, hard for a month and then I took a month off. No, consistently, day in and day out, 4 to 5 times a week in the gym, training consistently. All right, that's first requisite. Second, you need to do at least 2 times your body weight in squats and deadlifts. At least. That's a bare minimum, but that's kind of like I was kind of struggling with these numbers a little bit, but I think that's a good milestone to be considered kind of advanced, okay? And you need to be doing that for reps, not, I squatted, if I weigh 200 pounds, I squatted 400 pounds for 1 rep. No, for reps. Like you need to be doing sets with these weights. And then bench, I set around 1.5 times body weight, I believe is a good point where you're considered advanced, where you're no longer a beginner or intermediate. And one more prerequisite here, your diet needs to be on point as well. You can't get by with just training anymore. Like your diet has to be equal to the consistency that you put in the gym. So if you meet all those criteria, you are now advanced. And the key with advanced training is there are no rules. Individual program all the way through. And this is what's crazy about advanced is like the advanced stage is much harder than any of the other stages because you are literally trying different things to milk minimal gains. So for example, once you get over an advanced stage, naturally, you're probably only going to put on 3 to 5 to 7 pounds of muscle a year max. And that's if you do everything correctly. So now as you advance, that number actually gets less and less and less. So what starts to happen is you need to do different things to spark new growth, but that new growth is so minimal. And that's where it gets frustrating. So this is where I also think that Arnold came up with that shocking principle, because when you're advanced, I don't believe in the shocking principle. I don't think you need to shock your body into growth. But I think when you become advanced, you are so individual. You need to look at every aspect of your training, and you need to not be afraid to experiment with tempo. The tempo of the reps, what's going on during your set, the tempo, the form. You need to be able to play around with form at this stage. Typically you'll see like some of the more advanced bodybuilders, they kind of have like a unique form with certain exercises. And that's because they've experimented with it and were able to, okay, if I do this when I curl, I'm going to get more tension on my biceps. So I'm going to continue doing this. But when a beginner or an intermediate looks at them doing that, it looks wrong. In reality, it's not. Again, you could watch the videos of Arnold doing like a bent over row. His back, it looks like completely rounded. But again, he's not using heavy loads when he's doing that. And he's trying to keep the tension on his back, okay? So also the same thing with exercises. At this stage, for an advanced lifter, the exercises and the choices that you make matter more so than anything else, because you want to make sure that the exercises that you're picking are putting proper tension on the muscles. So for example, lately I've been experimenting with a new way to try to get some chest growth, and I've been going super wide. This is a technique that I actually used as a kid because I stole it right out of Arnold's encyclopedia. But by going super wide like that, I can use less load, and the tension on my pecs is a way higher, and my chest has been getting super, super sore. And I just feel like I'm getting a little bit more out of that. But that's just a good example of using an exercise and the form a little bit differently than most would. Okay. The next thing you got to experiment with is reps. Every body part that you use will respond to reps in a different way. The lower rep range may work for certain body parts. Higher rep ranges may work for certain body parts. It just depends. And this is what makes advanced training so difficult, because all these variables are always going to be at play here. And also, when you reach this advanced stage, I also think this is where the advanced techniques come in. Drop sets, myo reps, supersets, giant sets. Like, don't be afraid to sprinkle this crap in there, so this way you can see what works best and what doesn't work best. You have to be able to play around with these different things. Again, like I said, and you're going to be varying these variables all the time in order to milk a little bit of progress. And this is where it can get frustrating. So when you hit that advanced stage and you're trying to put on more muscle, it gets way harder because of all these individual variables. So what I would do is I would try these different things and just keep track, keep note. I talk about this all the time, but you have to look at your body like a science project, and you have to see, okay, this, I tried this and it worked so well for my pecs. Let me try it for legs. And then after a couple of weeks, say, okay, did this work or did it not work? Okay, this didn't work for legs. So that doesn't mean you have to use it consistently for every body part. So if you have a stubborn body part, you might want to implement one of these things at a time and see if that variable makes a difference. So hopefully this helped you. And if you have having trouble building and putting together a program, I got you covered. I have a free 6-week training program that I want to give you. No strings attached. I just want to help you to build more muscle. So click below and get that program. And this was Anthony, and I'll catch you on the next one.